What is up, guys? It is Barry Michael Doyle here, and we are doing part 14 of our React Native Redux tutorial for developing this Capo Keys application from scratch to finish. Now, if you've missed the previous video, just check out the card on the top right-hand corner over there. And what we did in the previous video was we created this view, we created the modal for the view transposed chords. So if we hit that button, a modal popped up. Now this is the finished application, so this is what we're aiming to do today. But we basically, for now, we have the close button, and that's working, which is awesome. Today we're going to set out the layout for doing this chords transitions and this, and basically all of this. We're going to try to set out the layout for that, so it's a lot of styling to get right that we have to worry about. Anyway, let's dive right into our code. Right, so here we are with our chords modal button open. I've closed all the other tabs just to clean things up a bit, and there's the text still freaking out because we're not using it yet, but don't worry, we'll use it soon. Anyway, before I get started, guys, if you could please like the video if you are enjoying the series, and make sure you've subscribed if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit that bell next to the subscribe button just so you can get notified on new videos coming out. I don't want you to fall behind on this material because it's quite valuable. Anyway, that would be much appreciated. As well, I really enjoy the comments, so if you could leave some comments, I love to reply to those, and it's been very encouraging hearing the positive feedback from you guys. So what we need to do first is think about what we're going to add now. So if we look back into our application, here it is, and we currently only have the button here, which is this code over here. I can even minimize that if I want to. And what I want to do is add this heading. Then we're going to add this kind of subheader kind of thing, and then this is going to be mapped out as more content, so we'll worry about this content at the end. Make it perfect. We're just going to put some dummy data in there so it can look nice in the layout. And my thing is closed, but there we go. So let's dive right in and think about it. So we need the header, the subheader, and then the dummy content. So let's just write it in here. So header, and it's all going to go here in the container, the modals container. So header, and then going to just call the subheader just so we know what's kind of going on. And then I'll just call it data for now, or data, however you pronounce it. I'm South African, we say data. Or do we? I don't know, we say both. It doesn't matter. People just say it how they want to say it. So let's start off with the header. This is going to be in its own view, and we're going to give it a style of header style just because that's an appropriate name to give it. And that means we've got to add header style to this over here. And before I break things completely, let's just do that. I'm going to minimize this button here because we're done working with the button, so we don't have to stress about it anymore. At the bottom here, I'm going to add header style. And let's think, what do I need to add to that header style? So for the header style, we want to give it a fixed height of 40. And we want the content to be justified. So justify content to the center, because when things are in the center, they look great. So that is done. Then we're also aligning the items to the center. This is just trivial stuff. We know how this works. And finally, we're going to make it a background color. Give it a background color of, what was it? It was 2196F3. That's just a standard blue color we've been using for everything. And now let's head back into our header style. So what were we going to add to the header? This is where we're finally going to use some text. And remember, we're using text from React Native Elements. So this is going to be text h4. And we're just going to add a simple style here. It's only one style, so I'm going to add the style inline here and make it white. If it's only one style, I usually do it inline just because it's neater. And finally, we can close the text, and inside it, we wanted to say, we're calling it chords transitions. There we go. And now we've got to think about everything that goes inside this. So there's our header style. I just realized all this stuff over here, including the button, kind of is going to go in its own little sub-content style. So we'll make a new view, we'll wrap it in a view. I'm going to add a style called content style. And a lot of this is me literally writing it all out on paper and figuring out how am I going to map this out and get it to look how I want it to look. So I've done a lot of the dirty work here. The point is, just that you can kind of understand that there's a lot of styles that go into this stuff, and you've just got to assume, or got to make sure you understand how it all works. So we're wrapping all of this stuff into a content style. So I've added the content style up here now, and we're going to add content style down here as well. Sorry, I'm going to move that to a new line just so it looks neater. So the content style is going to take a flex of 1, meaning everything aside from this header up here, which I'm going to actually minimize because we're not using it anymore. We've got the header, and then we have the content style. So with this content style, everything that's not occupied by the header is going to be occupied by the content style. So the content style is basically the full height minus the 40 height taken over there. So that's what flex 1 is for over here. And then it's simple. We're just going to align the items to center again. And we will justify content to center. I know I haven't actually kept to being consistent. Sometimes justify content's above, sometimes below. It doesn't matter. It can be wherever you want it to be. So I'll just do it both ways because I have no specific way that I like to keep it. And that's just so that all this content is taking up the full area of the remaining space of the header style. That's why we wrap it in that content style. Now, the next thing we have to do is consider what we're going to do here. So we've got our button here. So the button is cool. It's doing its thing. But we actually want to put the other stuff. If we look back into our app, here we have our application. And we've got the button down here. And that's all of this is in the content style. Everything white that you see there is basically the content style, and then that's the header. Now, inside the content style, we're going to wrap the subheader and the data into its own little style thing as well, because we want to get these rows organized so we can have that whole perfect row thing going here. Because we have if you think about it, actually, yeah, so there's a whole bunch of rows going, and then there's 3 columns going down here. And if you've noticed, they're kind of evenly mapped out because I've done a specific flex to them. I've given them all a flex of 1 to take up a fixed amount of space each. So this area here is going to be in its own little view, container view, and the button will be outside of that. So let's head to our code, and we're going to open this up and do another view down here. And you see it gets quite big and messy, but I mean, that's just, you know, if you're going to do big styles, this is what you'd expect. So we're going to call this the content row style. That's what we will be applying to this container view. And we got to add it to our list of styles. See, that's why I deconstructed this. It's a lot of styles. And then down here, we're going to add content row style. Now, let me just think. What are we going to do there? For content row style, again, the button takes up a fixed amount of space. So we have the header taking up a fixed space and the button taking up a fixed space. So we want the content row style to take up all the remaining space inside there. I hope you can just visualize the app as I was saying that, because I've looked at it enough. So this is pretty straightforward. The flex direction in this case is going to be row. So it's got its flex that takes the whole thing, but all the containing elements inside it, the flex direction, when we set a flex, it's not going to set a vertical flex like a column flex. It's going to set a horizontal flex, which is a row. So it's going to go across when we set the flex properties for the stuff inside it. So that's very important. That's the main reason we have this container style. And then as usual, we just want to justify content to center and align items to center, just so that everything's nice and pretty in the middle. Now, if we think about it, what are we going to do next? So we've got this row style and we've got the subheader that we're going to stick in now. What I recommend we do is we think about this. We're going to have a style now called the item container style. This is actually going to be reusable. We're going to use this for the data inside, this data, as well as the subheader. But for the start, we're just going to do the subheader. So the subheader is going to be its own view. And the data, if you think about it, is going to be like a whole bunch of data items as well. Like data 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be mapped out. There's going to be a bunch of them. And they're also going to be consisting of this view. It's just that this one up here is going to be unique because we're going to add a special style to it to make it bold so you can see the main transition that's going on. Now, what we need to do here is add the style of item container style. and that's going to be item container style. I mean, we haven't created the style yet, but that's just what we're going to do. And this is going to be applied to all of this data down here as well. So if we consider it, there's going to be that data there, view, and I'm just going to copy paste this. Like, it's going to go there like 3 times. So I don't know why this view is being funny now. It's not copying how I wanted it to copy. Anyway, so ignore that for now. But we're gonna have this item container style. So let's add item container style to our list of repertoires. This took me forever to build the first time, so I'm just rushing through it now because it's a lot of tedious work, but I'm gonna try to explain it to the best of my ability. So the item container style is gonna have a flex of 1, but remember now that this is inside the content row style, so the flex direction is a row, so it's gonna flex all the way across in the row. So that's what the container is going to do. And then as usual, the boring align item center is going to be done. And the justify content is also going to be center. I'm really not consistent in the way I do this. Pick a way to be consistent and do it your way. Then, in my case, I have added this. I'm going to add a bunch of styles in here. So inside this item container style, we're going to have an item head style, and that's going to refer to that subheader. So that's the only thing I want different to be in this is I want to give it a font weight of 900 so that it's bold. I want that to be bold, and I want it to be slightly bigger, so I set the font size to be 14. Right, so the reason I'm giving this a font size of 14 is because if we look at our application, this header over here is going to be a bit smaller than the single symbol items. So that's going to be 14, and we're going to make this font size to be 16. So it's smaller, but it's bold because it's a special, it's showing you this is the header. The key C chords on Capo 7 chords are going to be C to G, D to A, etc., all that stuff. So that's why we're making it smaller, but we're making it bold as well. So it's different, but it's still going to take the same item container style properties. So that said, that's the item head style. The normal item style, the ones that aren't the header, are going to have the align items to be center. So the header is going to have item style and item head style. So we'll have item style center. All of the items will be centered. All of them will have a font size of 14, except the header one. It's going to be overwritten by, sorry, they're going to all have a font size of 16. The header one will be overwritten to have 14 instead. And then finally, we're going to have the text align to be center as well. So that's just normal stuff. And that's actually all the styles that we're going to need for this thing. And I'm going to move the button container style down to the bottom, because if we think about the order of our application, the button container style does go down to the bottom. So there we go. This is all the styles we're going to need. I need to spell font size right. Sorry about that. If you were going crazy, I'm really sorry. I fixed it, so it's fine. Now, the final things we need to add in here is, what did we add? We created these new styles. We created item container style, item head style, and item style. There we go. And this is just freaky out because we're not using it. I'm going to add the button container style to the bottom because I just like to be somewhat consistent in my code. Now this subheader is very important. We are going to add so we've already got the item container style. In here, we're going to have a text, and that's going to take this is just going to be a standard text. It's still from React Native Elements, but just not a specific age to it. So this is going to take the style, and these item container styles, sorry, there's going to be a bunch of this. So we've got the content row style. I've actually explained this a little bit incorrectly. So there's going to be a bunch of content row styles. That's what I need to implement here. So if you think about each row, content row style, each row is going to be like that. So this data actually needs to be row by row. So it's going to be row, and it's going to be like, I'm not even going to add it yet. So I'm just going to say data 1, because it's going to be a lot. And I don't want to spend too much time on this specific thing. So we have this content row style. Oops. And I'm going to copy this and just put this in place for data 2. I'm not even going to do a data 3. I'm going to just do straight up data, well, data 4. I'm going to do data 3. So this is just a placeholder for that mapped out data that we're going to have. So remember, we're going to have that. And this is the header, and this is the data. So if we look back into our app now, we have this over here is going to represent the data that I have here. And then this over here is going to represent this row up here. So it's the content row style that we're focusing on. And everything is inside the content style. So this whole section here is the content style. Content style, the button is in the content style. So if we look at that, this button, everything in the white is the content style. The button is there included. Sorry, that is closed. And that button being in there is perfectly fine. It's what we expected. And then inside is all the row styles. So that is how that is working out. So remember, in the row style, everything's flex direction is one horizontally, like a row flex direction. So that's very important to take into consideration. Now let's focus on what is going inside here. There's going to be inside here, we'll have the item container styles. And if we look back into our application, sorry, one more time, that is an item, that is an item, and that is an item. So we're going to make 3 items here because they're all item container styles. I'm going to spread them out a bit. Sorry, they're not done as they should be. There we go. And they're all their own little item container styles. So the first one I want to put in is the key. We have our key. And later on, I'll say the whole selected key index style thing. We haven't really connected this up to our reducer, to our app state yet. So I'm not going to worry about that. So we're going to have the key. And then we're going to have this little pretty arrow thing. So if we think about it, sorry, I use spaces, not tabs. If you get the reference, you'll freak out. What we need to do now is we add another text here, and this doesn't even have to be a really big deal. This is just simple. I just said equals. Actually, I didn't say equals. I said a little arrow thing, and I'm copying this in now. This little arrow over here, I'm going to put it up here because it's just, that's such a small thing, it can be on its own line. So this arrow, I'm going to find the alt key for it now, and I'll post it in the video. It's over here. That alt key, you just type in alt and do that thing. You could also Google arrows and then just copy and paste it like that. That's literally how I did it, so sorry. I'll copy this symbol in the description below and just say the arrow symbol, so you can just copy it from there. Perfect. Finally, we're also going to have the chords. So it's going to be capo like something key. I'm just going to hardcode this in C and like the key of G or something. Like capo 7 chords or something. If the key is G and the capo is whatever, that's fine. We got to change this later, so I think I'll just put like a little slash, double slash in there to mention that we've got to change these values later on. There we go. So finally, we've got to implement these styles. And these styles are all the same. They're actually going to be 2 styles. So they're going to have the item style, and then they're going to also have the item head style. So this means it takes the item style, and then it overwrites the item head style onto it. So it takes all of those initial things, and if anything overlaps with the head style, it adds that in. So that's how that works. And we can just copy and paste this in to the other features as well. And for the rest of these, over here, the item container style, I'm going to copy these and just put them in there. So for view 1 up, it's a crazy mess, but it's a good way to get this going. All right, so that is all in there. We add this view in here. Bam. Still crazy mess, but it's fixed, kind of. Is it fixed? Not really. I'm sorry about that. Right. And I'm not even going to worry about data 3, actually. Sorry, it's just too much work to worry about. What I want to do here is I'm going to remove the item head style, because these aren't going to be head styles. So we remove that from the thing and turn it into a normal not array. I'm worried this video is getting a bit long and it's a bit tedious. I know this is quite tedious work, but after this, the kind of grunt work is done. Ugh, I'm getting lost in this. So all of these are item styles, and then this one I also want to say item styles. This one, nope, sorry. This is gonna be so great when I'm done and ready to show this to you. Item styles, there we go. So we have this content row style, this content row style, and then we have this content row style over here is the header, and these are the two other rows that are going in. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to open this application up in Expo. Okay, so I know the video has been really long so far, but here's our application, the one that we've actually built, not the finished one. If we hit the View Transpose Chords button, we get this popping up, and it's kind of as we expected. We have our subheader here, and then everything else, it's evenly spaced because we've expected everything to be nicely justified and aligned. So that said, the video is a bit long now, so I'm not going to go over every little bit of how the styles make this work out. Instead, we will go over that in the next video, which I actually want to make this button bigger. But yes, we'll sort that all out in the next video when we actually map these specific keys to the correct stuff. So as more come in, they will populate nicely and be aligned nicely. So this is a nice boilerplate for what we've got so far, and we're gonna work on mapping everything out in the next video. Anyway guys, as usual, if you like the video, leave a like, and please subscribe if you have not done that already. Leave the comments as well. Really appreciate the comments. In the next video, a lot more will be explained, so if you're finding this tough now, let me know in this video, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make an effort to clear some things out in the next video and explain things much better. Anyway guys, keep well, see you in the next one. Ciao.